I never thought I'd be the type of woman to wreck her own marriage, yet here I am, watching everything fall apart because I couldn't keep my stupid mouth shut. Hi, I'm Rachel, 28, and 3 years ago, I thought I had it all figured out when I married Daniel. Now I'm sitting alone in an apartment that feels too big and too empty, wondering how I managed to throw away a perfectly good life. I met Daniel right after I'd broken up with Mark. Mark and I had been together for 2 years, and it was intense. The kind of relationship where you can't keep your hands off each other 1 minute and then you're screaming at each other the next. My friends always said we had this electric connection. Looking back, they were probably just describing toxicity with a prettier word, but I was obsessed with him. When Mark finally broke things off because he wasn't ready to settle down, I was crushed. Daniel was different from the beginning. He was stable, kind, and actually called when he said he would. He had a good job in IT, owned his own condo, and had this calm confidence I found so reassuring after the constant drama with Mark. Within a year, Daniel and I were married, and I convinced myself I was happier with this peaceful life than I ever was on the emotional roller coaster with Mark. And then I got pregnant. We were both excited, Daniel especially. He turned our spare bedroom into a nursery, read all the baby books, and came to every appointment. When our son was born, I suggested the name Marcus, telling Daniel it was after my grandfather. That was a complete lie. There was no Grandpa Marcus. I just couldn't let go of my past, I guess. Daniel loved the name, completely oblivious to the fact that I'd named our son after the ex-boyfriend I couldn't forget. After Marcus was born, everything changed. Daniel was still Daniel, supportive, loving, present, but I was drowning in diapers, sleepless nights, and a body that didn't feel like mine anymore. Daniel would come home from work tired, but would still take Marcus from my arms, giving me time to shower or just breathe. He tried so hard, but instead of appreciating him, I found myself getting annoyed at how he loaded the dishwasher or how he'd ask what I wanted for dinner when I clearly had no energy to make decisions. Small, stupid things. Meanwhile, I started scrolling through old photos on my phone during those late night feedings, photos of Mark and me from years ago. I told myself it was just nostalgia, that I was just missing who I used to be before I became someone's wife and someone's mom. Around Marcus's first birthday, I did something I knew was wrong. Um, I reached out to Mark on Facebook, just a casual, hey, how have you been? With a recent photo of me where I actually did my hair and makeup. I told myself there was nothing wrong with catching up with an old friend. Mark didn't respond for 3 days, and I checked my phone obsessively. When he finally did, it was like being hit with a wave of emotions I thought I'd buried. Wow, you still look amazing, he wrote. Life's been crazy, but I think about you all the time. You were the one that got away, you know. Our messages quickly became more frequent and intense. He'd disappear for days sometimes, then come back with messages like, I miss your laugh so much, or I was just thinking about that weekend at the beach house. He'd say things like, I wish you were here with me right now instead of with him, and no one gets me like you do. When I sent him a selfie after getting my hair done, he replied, damn, you look so good. He doesn't deserve you. It was toxic, and deep down, I knew it, but it felt like oxygen after months of feeling like I was suffocating in my perfect little life. Daniel noticed I was on my phone more, but didn't question it. Instead, he tried harder, planning date nights, bringing home my favorite takeout, even scheduling a cleaning service to come twice a month so I'd have less to worry about. You seem a million miles away lately, Daniel said one night as we got ready for bed. I just want to make you happy again. Tell me what you need. I'm fine, I said, not looking up from my phone, just tired. The next day, Mark sent me a message saying, send me a pic of you now. I need to see your face. And I found myself taking selfie after selfie until I found one I thought looked good enough. Beautiful, he wrote back. But I miss seeing all of you. I knew what he was asking for. I told myself I wouldn't do it. I was a mother, a wife. But that night, after Daniel fell asleep, I sent Mark exactly what he wanted. And somehow, in my twisted logic, I convinced myself it wasn't really cheating because it was just pictures. It wasn't physical. As the weeks went on, my conversations with Mark got more intense. Each message was like a drug. I'd feel this rush when I saw his name pop up on my screen, followed by this desperate need to respond immediately. Meanwhile, Daniel was working overtime to try to reconnect with me, coming home with little surprises that I found forced and trying too hard. You know what I love about you? Mark messaged one night. You never needed anyone to take care of you. You're not like other girls who just want security. It was exactly what I wanted to hear, that I was special, different, not boring like I felt in my marriage. The fact that Daniel was literally taking care of me every day, helping with Marcus, paying our bills, being a responsible partner, suddenly seemed like evidence that I'd settled rather than something to appreciate. I started hiding my phone whenever Daniel was around. I'd take it into the bathroom with me or wait until he was busy with Marcus to respond to Mark. I'd stay up after Daniel went to bed, telling him I wanted to watch TV when really I was messaging Mark. Soon, our phone conversations turned into explicit messages and inappropriate pictures. I sent him photos I would die if anyone else saw. He told me in graphic detail what he wanted to do if we were alone together, all while Daniel was trying harder than ever to fix whatever was wrong in our marriage. The night everything fell apart started like any other. Daniel came home from work early to help with Marcus, taking over baby duty so I could shower and have some time to myself. He even ordered dinner so I wouldn't have to cook. After we put Marcus to bed, Daniel suggested we watch a movie together. I agreed, though I kept my phone in my hand, waiting for Mark to respond to my earlier message. Rachel, can we talk? Like, really talk? Daniel asked after noticing me checking my phone again. About what? About us. About what's happening here. He gestured between us. I feel like I'm losing you, and I don't even know why. I've been trying everything I can think of to make you happy, but nothing seems to work. I'm just tired, I said, using my standard excuse. It's not about you. I don't believe that, Daniel said quietly. We used to be a team. Now it feels like we're living separate lives under the same roof. Is there someone else? Daniel asked directly. My heart stopped. What? No. How could you ask me that? Because you're always on your phone? Because you pull away when I touch you? Because you seem happy sometimes for no reason and then disappointed without explanation? Daniel looked at me for a long moment, then stood up. I think I'm going to go to bed. I'm tired of feeling like I'm fighting for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. I watched him walk to our bedroom, feeling a mix of guilt and relief. I picked up my phone again and saw Mark had finally replied, I can't stop thinking about you. Send me another pic, something just for me. I glanced toward the bedroom, then quietly took a revealing photo and sent it. He responded immediately. You're so hot. I want you so bad. He must be blind or stupid not to appreciate what he has. I went to the bedroom to find Daniel reading in bed. I changed into my pajamas and got into bed beside him. Daniel put his book down and turned off his lamp, then lay with his back to me. After a few minutes, he rolled over and touched my shoulder. Rachel, he said softly, I love you. Whatever is wrong, we can fix it together. The genuine emotion in his voice made my chest hurt. He moved closer, his hand gently caressing my arm, clearly wanting to reconnect physically. I didn't push him away, but I didn't encourage him either. His touch felt foreign, somehow wrong. He must have sensed my hesitation because he stopped. What is it? He asked. What am I doing wrong? Nothing, I lied. I'm just not in the mood. You're never in the mood anymore, he said, frustration finally creeping into his voice. Not just for sex, but for us, for anything involving me. That's not true, I protested weakly. Then what is true, Rachel? Help me understand what's happening. I couldn't tell him the truth, so instead I said nothing, staring at the ceiling. Daniel sat up, turning on his lamp again. I can't do this anymore. This silence, this distance, it's killing me. Just tell me what you want. What I wanted was the excitement Mark made me feel without the complications. What I wanted was impossible. Daniel was looking at me so intently, his eyes pleading for something I couldn't give him. And in that moment, frustrated by his neediness, annoyed by his persistence, I muttered under my breath what I thought was too quiet for him to hear. I miss how Mark made me feel. The second the words left my mouth, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. Daniel's expression changed instantly, his face draining of color. He'd hurt me every word. "Who the hell is Mark?" he asked, his voice dangerously quiet. The silence that followed my slip was deafening. My mind raced for an explanation, any explanation, but the look on Daniel's face told me it was too late for lies. "An old friend," I stammered. "A friend," Daniel repeated, his voice hollow. "And what exactly do you miss about how this friend made you feel?" I said nothing, panic rising in my chest. Daniel reached for my phone on the nightstand. I lunged for it, but he was faster. "Daniel, don't. If he's just a friend, you won't mind me looking, right?" I watched in horror as he unlocked my phone. He knew my password, of course he did, and began scrolling through my messages. His expression changed from suspicion to shock to disgust as he read the exchanges between Mark and me. His hand started shaking. "What is this?" he whispered. "These pictures, Rachel. What have you been doing?" "It's not what it looks like," I said desperately. "We were just talking." "Just talking?" "This isn't just talking. This is—" He stopped abruptly, staring at the screen. "Wait, Mark. Marcus? You named our son after him?" The blood drained from my face. I'd never considered that Daniel would make that connection. "No," I lied automatically. "Marcus is named after my grandfather. You know that." "Your grandfather?" Daniel repeated blankly. "The grandfather you never mentioned before you were pregnant? The grandfather none of your family ever talks about?" He stopped, a terrible realization dawning on his face. "There is no grandfather Marcus, is there?" My silence was answer enough. Daniel stood up, still clutching my phone. "Who is he to you? An ex? Someone you worked with?" "My ex-boyfriend," I whispered, "from before I met you." "How long has this been going on?" "Nothing's going on," I insisted. "We're just talking." "Stop lying," Daniel shouted, making me flinch. He never raised his voice. "I can see the messages, Rachel. I can see the pictures you sent him." "My God, you named our child after him? How could you do something so disgusting, so disrespectful?" I had no defense. Instead, I went on the attack. "You don't understand. You don't make me feel the way he does." Daniel laughed bitterly. "The guy who's asking you for pictures while I'm taking care of our son? The guy who hasn't had to deal with midnight feedings or diaper changes or any actual responsibilities? That guy?" He threw my phone on the bed and walked to the closet, pulling out a duffel bag. "What are you doing?" I asked, panic rising. "What does it look like? I'm leaving. I can't even look at you right now." "Daniel, please," I said, suddenly desperate. "It was just messages. It didn't mean anything." He turned to me, his eyes filled with a pain I'd never seen before. "If it didn't mean anything, why did you do it? Why did you hide it? Why did you name our son after him?" I had no answer. Daniel stuffed clothes into the bag haphazardly. "I need to get out of here before I say something I'll regret. I'll be back tomorrow to see Marcus and figure out what happens next. But we're done, Rachel. No one comes back from this kind of betrayal." "It was just words," I protested. "I didn't actually cheat on you." Daniel paused, looking at me with disgust. "You really don't get it, do you? This is cheating. The lies, the secrets, the emotional intimacy with someone else. That's cheating. And naming our child after him? That's a whole other level of betrayal I don't even have words for." He zipped up the bag and walked toward the door. Followed him, tears finally streaming down my face. "Please don't go," I begged. "Think about Marcus." Daniel stopped at the mention of our son's name, his shoulders tensing. "I am thinking about Marcus. That's the only reason I'm not saying what I really want to say to you right now." He turned to face me one last time. "We're getting a divorce." I'll be back tomorrow to work out temporary arrangements for our son. And with that, he walked out. I stood in the silent apartment, the weight of what I'd done finally hitting me. Daniel made good on his promise to return the next morning. His eyes were red-rimmed from lack of sleep, but his voice was steady as he laid out his terms. I'll take Marcus to my brother's for the weekend, he said. But we'll need to work out a temporary custody arrangement until the divorce is finalized. After Daniel left with Marcus, the apartment felt suffocatingly empty. I checked my phone. Mark had responded to my desperate message from the night before. Damn, that's intense. You okay? What are you going to do now? Not, I'm sorry, or this is partly my fault too. Just curiosity about the drama. I don't know, I texted back. He's talking about divorce. He took Marcus for the weekend. That's rough, Mark replied. Want to meet up? Might help to talk in person. Despite everything falling apart around me, I felt a surge of excitement. Yes, I replied immediately. When? Tonight, my place. I'll order some food. I agreed without hesitation, spending the rest of the day alternating between panic over my imploding marriage and anticipation about seeing Mark. When I arrived at his apartment that evening, he greeted me with a long hug that turned into something more. The chemistry was still there, exactly as I'd remembered. Within an hour, I'd crossed the final line. What had been an emotional affair became physical, and in the twisted logic of the moment, I justified it by telling myself my marriage was already over. Afterward, lying in his bed, reality started to creep back in. What am I going to do? I asked, more to myself than to him. Mark shrugged. You'll figure it out. You always do. Not, we'll figure it out. Not, I'm here for you. Just a casual dismissal of the crisis I was facing. My whole life is falling apart, I said. Daniel's talking about getting lawyers involved. That sucks, Mark said, his attention already drifting to his phone. Hey, I've got an early meeting tomorrow, so the dismissal was clear. I'd given him what he wanted, and now he was done, at least for the moment. Over the next few days, the pattern repeated itself. My parents called, devastated. My friends texted, some sympathetic, but most shocked at what I'd done. Daniel's family, who had welcomed me as one of their own, now treated me like a stranger during custody exchanges. Through it all, Mark remained inconsistent, passionate one day, distant the next. He'd invite me over, then cancel at the last minute. He'd bombard me with messages, then disappear for days. It was exactly how he'd behaved when we dated years ago, but now I was too emotionally dependent on him to walk away. 2 weeks after Daniel left, Mark invited me to bring Marcus over to his apartment. I should meet the little guy, he said, since we're getting serious again. Marcus was fussy that day, overtired from the disruption to his routine. When he wouldn't stop crying at Mark's apartment, I saw a flash of annoyance cross Mark's face. Does he ever stop? He asked. He's a baby, I said defensively. And he's been through a lot of changes, Mark shrugged. I guess, look, maybe this isn't the best time. Why don't you drop him off with your parents or something and come back later, just us? That was the first moment I felt a real pang of doubt about what I was doing. But instead of listening to it, I called my mom and asked if she could watch Marcus for a few hours. She agreed reluctantly, her disappointment evident in her voice. 3 months after Daniel walked out, I was living in a smaller apartment with Marcus half the time. The divorce proceedings were underway, with Daniel being surprisingly civil for someone I'd hurt so deeply. He spoke to me only about Marcus, his tone businesslike and distant. Mark had settled into a pattern of seeing me once or twice a week, always at his convenience, never making concrete plans or commitments. I had started to notice the red flags I'd ignored before. How he only called when he wanted something, how he never asked about Marcus, how he made excuses when I needed support. One morning, after Mark had canceled plans for the third time in 2 weeks, I woke up feeling nauseous. I bought a pregnancy test, and there it was, 2 pink lines that changed everything yet again. When I told Mark, his reaction was exactly what I should have expected, but somehow still shocked me. Are you sure it's mine? He asked immediately. Yes, I said, hurt by the implication. Daniel and I haven't been together since before he left. Mark ran a hand through his hair, pacing his living room. This is not what I signed up for, Rachel. I'm not ready to be a dad. You think I planned this? I asked incredulously. I'm already a single mom half the time. The last thing I wanted was another baby right now. So what are you going to do? He asked, the emphasis on you saying everything. Don't you mean what are we going to do? I corrected. He looked at me for a long moment. Look, I care about you, but I never said anything about settling down, especially not with someone else's kid already in the picture and another on the way. He didn't call, he didn't text. After a week of silence, I went by his apartment only to find he'd blocked my number. The doorman told me he'd instructed them not to let me up. I'd been completely cut off. The next day was a custody exchange with Daniel. As I handed Marcus over, Daniel noticed something different about me. Are you sick? He asked, the first personal question he'd asked in months. I hesitated, then decided honesty was the only option left. I'm pregnant, I said quietly. Daniel stared at me, connecting the dots immediately. He let out a short, bitter laugh and shook his head. Well, he said finally, looks like I dodged a bullet. The words stung because they were true. Daniel hadn't walked out because he stopped loving me. He'd walked out because he respected himself too much to stay with someone who betrayed him so completely. And now, watching him strap Marcus into his car seat with gentle care, Marcus, the son he loved unconditionally despite knowing he was named after another man, I realized what I'd thrown away. As Daniel's car pulled out of the parking lot, I caught a glimpse of someone in the passenger seat, a woman with dark hair. My stomach twisted with an unexpected jealousy. Daniel was moving on. Of course he was. Any woman would be lucky to have him. Standing alone outside my apartment building, one hand resting on my still flat stomach, I faced the consequences of my choices. I would soon be a single mother of 2 children with different fathers. The passionate relationship I'd convinced myself was worth destroying my marriage for had been nothing but a fantasy. And the stable, loving partner I'd taken for granted was gone forever. I wish I could say I learned some profound lesson from all this, that I grew as a person or found some deeper understanding of myself. But the truth is, I'm still that same selfish woman who whispered, I miss how Mark made me feel and shattered her family. I still find ways to blame everyone but myself. Daniel for not being exciting enough, Mark for leading me on, my friends for encouraging me, my hormones for the pregnancy. Deep down, though, in the moments of honesty that come late at night when I can't sleep, I know the truth. I did this, all of it. And unlike fairy tales or movies, there's no magical third act where everything works out. There's just me picking up the pieces of the life I broke, wondering if someday I'll find someone who makes me feel special without seeing my selfishness for what it is. But first, I'll have to learn to live with the whispered words I can never take back.